Hello, this is Mr. Huff, and I want to quickly introduce Inventor to you. We're going to identify some of the parts and names of things so that we can be speaking in a common language. The first thing I want to say is you need to buy a mouse. An optical 3-button mouse is what you need. The third button is the scroll wheel in the middle that clicks. It's going to let you do things quickly and efficiently. Trying to model in 3 dimensions is very difficult if you're only using the trackpad that's on the computer. So bring a mouse. I don't care if it's wired or wireless. You keep up with your parts. It's one of your supplies you need. So there's that. When you click on New, you will see this box open up. And in the center of this box, you'll see some templates. If you are making a part, it is going to be the one called, we're going to use the one called Standard IPT. If you want to open the English template, we'll use the Standard IPT in English, but either one will work. It should default to inches regardless, but the Standard IPT, notice that the extension for this, the file extension on this is IPT, and that means Inventor Part. And a part is a 2-dimensional or a 3-dimensional object, and it's made of 1 or more parts. So if you look at that, it gives you an example on the bottom right. This would be an example of a part. If you click on Standard IAM, that is a Standard Inventor Assembly. So this is where you have a collection of aligned and connected parts. So it's where you take multiple parts, you join them together, and you can actually see if they work together way before you build anything. So the file extension is .iam, and it is a collection of aligned and connected parts. The third thing we need to talk about is a drawing, and in this class we're going to use a common template called PLTW. Okay, so I have one here that we're not going to use. You should have downloaded this. If you don't see this, we need to update your machine with the correct files, but you should see pltw.idw. The file extension IDW means a 2-dimensional engineering document that gives us information about parts and assemblies. And again, at the lower right, you can see an example of what this looks like. This is also a preview of the drawing template we're going to be using this year. Alright, so I'm going to close that. I'm not interested in making anything new. I already have something open, so I'm going to switch to this view. Let's look at what we see here in the application window. So the first part we want to go through is this thing right here. This area here is called the ribbon, and it gives you lots of different choices in the ribbon. So you can see this. This is just like what you would see in a Microsoft product, where it has a bunch of commands and that sort of thing all lined out for you, kind of organized by function. So that is called the ribbon. On the left side, you will see all of these things here in this little rectangular box. This is called a browser, the part browser. This is the part browser window right here. And here you can see I have this lovely rim that I modeled last year. And this area that this shows up in, this grayed out area, is called the graphic window, or the graphics window. One of the things that will happen to you a lot in Inventor is you think you will be doing something and your left click and your command won't seem to be working. Something you need to keep in mind is our motto when we're using Inventor is keep calm and press escape. And that usually will make things start working again. Sometimes you'll turn on a command inadvertently, and it makes it where it puts it in a state where it's waiting for something specific to happen, but you don't know what it is because you did it by accident. So all you have to do is escape a couple of times, and it will turn that off. Okay. Now let's go through a change on your diagram. You're going to have this little I as a button, but that has been replaced with this little orange tab here called File, and this is called the Application button, and this is where you're going to make new files and save things and export things, and these are the first few that we're going to be doing. We may actually print some things this year. We'll do that as we get there, but making new files, opening things you've already thrown out there, saving copies, it's all right here. So this is the Application button. If you look across the top of this, you'll see some things like the little home and an undo button and save, and some different, like these are different materials that we could model in, different colors that you could use. So this is an appearance, it's called the appearance browser. It tells you what you're working on. This whole section up here is called the quick access toolbar. And we've already talked briefly about this: 3D model, sketch, inspect, manage, that sort of thing. These are different tabs. So these are the tabs. And inside this, let's look at 3D model. Each time it has a word with a little symbol, these are commands. These are commands. So you have the commands of rib and import and coil and loft and sweep and extrude, that sort of thing. And then down here, the last part, if it has, these are called panels, and if it has a drop down here, this is really nice because it has more options here. So the little panels give you access to more commands that don't show up here. So look for those little drop downs, and that will help you. So see how Modify has the little drop down that lets you open the panel. Okay. One of the things that can happen is you can accidentally close this parts browser, and it's really important that you have access to that. So if that happens accidentally, what you're going to do is click on View, and you're going to find the tab that says User Interface, or this command. That's what it is, it's not a tab. So the View tab, the command User Interface, click on the drop down and select Browser, and that will turn that back on. So that's the answer to one of your questions. Another thing we need to talk about is how to navigate this picture. So over here we have this navigation area. They give us some tools that make it easy. And we'll start with this. This is called the home button. So let's say that I have rotated this around a little bit. So I zoomed in and I rotated it, or I moved it, and I'm trying to rotate it. So I rotated it around a couple of times, and it's really not where I want it to be. If you click over here and you find that little home button, so this is called home view, click on home view and it will take it back to the original orientation of front, or it's top, front, and right. Okay. This is called the view cube, and if you wanted to see the front, you click on that and you can see the front, and you can click and drag on this and like rotate it around. If you wanted to see the right side, you can turn it to the right. You can grab these little arrows and spin. Oh, my mouse has gone crazy, sorry. So you can spin it like that by clicking these arrows and clicking these arrows. You can flip around to different views. This is called the navigation bar. It's kind of useful because you can switch from the hand tool to move things around, to the zoom tool to zoom in and out, and this is an orbit tool that lets you, if you click on that, I really need to zoom out so we can zoom out a lot, and you can see the orbit view here. This lets you kind of move things around. Okay, so you can like turn the part over and under, kind of rotating it. Again, I don't like where I'm at, so I'm going to hit the home view button. There are some function keys I need to talk about. If you don't have your 3-button mouse, it's nice to know the function keys. So if you press F2, and actually I need to hit escape a couple of times, and I'm going to hold down F2 and I'm going to click and drag, and this lets me move the part around. This is called pan. So panning left and right is what you do on the stereo. This lets you pan the view left, right, up, down without changing the zoom. That's really nice. You can press F3 and left click and drag your mouse or drag across the trackpad, and this is zooming in. You can zoom way in, you can zoom way out. Okay, so if you get lost, hit the home view again and it will snap things back where you want them. If you hold down F4, the free orbit selection comes open, and this lets you turn things over, swing them left and right. You can grab the different edges, so you can rotate by grabbing on the outside. If you grab on the inside, it lets you flip the part around like crazy. Okay, so again, if you get into a position you don't like, you hit home view. And just a real quick note, I want you to right click and look at the menus that pop up. This changes based on what you're looking at. This right click in Inventor is probably the most powerful right click I have ever seen. You have a lot of functionality in here, and it changes based on what you're pointing at. So As you start working, I expect that you use the ribbon and the commands here, but you will learn shortcuts here that make it a lot easier so you can start working faster. Don't worry about this so much in the beginning, but I just want you to know that it's there and it has a lot of information and commands for you to use. All right, that's a real quick introduction to the Inventor interface. That took about 10 minutes, and you should have your fill-in-the-blank notes. Go ahead and put your name on that and turn it in to me. Thanks. Bye.